This is a super fun card using up little bits of designer series paper. What you're going to notice in your package is that you have some designer series paper that is 1 1/4. So what you need to do is actually cut them down to 1 1/4 each, so that we have multiples. So let's start with that, since that's the easiest thing to do. So we have the pieces of designer series paper, and you'll notice that you got a few sheets of that. So I'm just going to stack mine and hold them tightly. They're already 1 1/4. So let's cut them a little bit more at 1 1/4. So we need to make them square. So there's 1 1/4, and we're just going to keep going across until we have them all used up. Holding tight and shifting. Okay. The last one might be a little tight, but let's get that in there. So 1 inch and 1 1/4. There we go. Pinch it down and cut. We don't need a huge bunch, so these 3, 6, 9 will be enough for us to create our cards. So we have those off to the side. Okay. What we have next is our cardstock. There we go. That is Misty Moonlight. Very pretty. I love that color. And that's to pick up the blue that was in the designer series paper. Okay. We also have a piece of basic white, which we are going to emboss. You could choose whatever embossing folder you like. I use the swirly embossing folder. Very, very cool. I also have a piece of blue Misty Moonlight cardstock that we are going to stamp in Versamark and heat emboss in white powder. You will notice in your packages that I have cut the circles out for you, and all we need to do is pop some of those out. Now we're not going to be using the whole circle. We are only really going to be using half the circle. If you want to use the whole circle, it is totally up to you. It is your choice, okay? So you want to find those in your package and set that aside. When I was preparing this, I had some extra designer series paper that I didn't want to use, and I know I'm only going to use half of it. So you'll notice that this piece is missing. That is totally okay because I will be cutting that off. So I'm just going to pop out some of these pieces that didn't come quite out. They should be easy enough to just pop out with your pokey tool. Okay, and there we go. So let's get that started. In the meantime, let's emboss this piece of basic white. So definitely use whatever embossing folder that you like, but I thought the swirly would give a really nice kind of image on that. So I love that. I think it looks really, really good. Now, tip, do not glue this down because all of our work needs to be done on this piece, and we need to do some parts with the ribbon and the gluing. So what I want to do before I glue anything is I'm going to take my pieces and I kind of want to span them across, and they're going in an angle. And what I want to do is I want to have a variety of images and colors going across. So I really want to pick up that blue, so I'm going to keep going with the blue, and maybe I'll go with the brown here. So just to lay it down so you can see kind of what you're working with. I have a couple left over, so I can put those off to the side. Now remember I said I had that piece off to the that I've got half. I will be cutting this off just to make sure I know where I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to be cutting roughly about that, and I'm going to be cutting it straight off, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the top. So I know that that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to stamp this first and then continue to work on it. Whoops, everything's getting away on me. All right. I'm going to take that off to the side. I'm going to find a sentiment that I think is going to be really nice up on there. And that is going to be really big. I think maybe I will not go with the birthday wishes. I want to find something that's going to sit in there quite nicely. and I don't want it to be huge. So I'm going to just take that thank you one, and I'm going to stamp that in Memento black ink. Now I want to get it up fairly high, that it goes kind of in that circle portion. I don't want it right up against the edge, and I don't want it too low because then it won't fit in. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back in on that card base. Going to trim it in half. Right, let's get that. Oops, little piece. So I know it's going to be on the edge thereabouts. I want a little bit peeking out on the top and the bottom. So that's where I want it to be. So I'm actually going to glue that down. Okay, because I know for sure that that's where I want that piece to go. Okay, so remember we had our other pieces of designer series paper. What I need to do is start building off of that line. So I want to make sure that this piece is kind of hidden, and I'm going to kind of move it across. I want to make sure that I get at least half of an image on that. Let's go with this. I'm going to go that side, and we can go with the blue on that. Always turn it over just to see what's on the other side. And I will do that. So I can see it is going to span nicely across. Okay. And you can actually run a bead of glue across. But what I'm going to do is actually get some tear and tape and lay that down as my guide. Okay. Now I'm going to do a rough mark here, so that if I don't move my white, I have an idea of where the tear and tape should go across. Okay, I'm going to do that, and it spans kind of right across here. That looks like it's in line. Perfect. Now you'll notice my tear and tape is a little long. That's okay. I can just fold it back over on itself. There we go. Again, I'm going to start working with those pieces, placing it here along that tear and tape, and I'm going to make a line. Now I want it to be even all the way across. So I'm just going to butt it up on itself and move along. Okay. So it is overhanging. That is okay. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to snip that straight along the edge of the paper. Okay, got that. It's looking good, but I'm not quite done. I want to add a ribbon. Now, the ribbon that I am going to be adding, it is not a white ribbon. I wanted to pick up on the color of some of that's in that DSP. So I am going to be using this basic beige ribbon. Now I'm going to run it along the edge. Now if I place it right on top, you can kind of see through that ribbon. So I don't want to do that. I want to line it up as best as I can. So I'm going to hold it, flip it, and then I'm going to tape it down. This would help if I was an octopus, I think. All right, tape it down. Now I can flip it over. Again, make sure I'm running it along the seam and not on the DSP. Let's get a piece of tape ready. Running it along the seam. If you want, you can add a glue dot underneath to hold it if you need. Flipping it, and I'm going to be adding that tape. So there we go. So over here, if I had it like I showed you before, I don't want that DSP to kind of give a shadow behind the ribbon. So that's what I wanted. This is sticking up a little bit. If I really, really want to, I can get a glue dot and place a glue dot underneath just to hold it down in place. There we go. And now it's not popping up. Let's actually mount this on the card base so that we don't lose it. I don't know about you. Things seem to go missing as I work. So I'm going to add this onto the card base. The ribbon is wrapped around, and I can place that on there now. I am not adding the bow yet because I don't know where the butterfly that I'm going to be adding is going to sit. This part is all done. What I want to do is move on to the Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to be using my Versamark, and I'm going to be heat embossing. And I thought, let's see, I could do this one. This one looks pretty good. I think it fits really nicely. I like this one. The big one is too big, and the small I think is just too tiny. But look for yourself and see which one you prefer. So I'm going to ink this up with the Versamark. And I'm actually going to do 2. Why not? Since I'm here, I might as well do 2. Do 2 at the same time. I never know where I'm going to use that last one. Okay. I have the Versamark on the cardstock. You can barely see it. It is still sticky. It will be sticky for a bit, so I can go heat emboss this with white. Heat embossing on white on a dark color is absolutely stunning. It looks really, really nice. So I have that done. And what I need to do now is just cut these guys out. Okay. I'm going to die cut them out. Again, watching as I line up the wings. And let's die cut him out. I have them die cut and heat embossed. They look absolutely stunning. I love how the glossiness and the white really makes that pop on the darker color of cardstock. What I can do now is add him to the card, and we will place him up on dimensionals. There we go. And the last thing we need to do is just pop on that bow. And what I want to do is make sure that it kind of fits in between where the butterfly is. So let's get that bow, and we'll place it about here. I don't know if I want to do a knot or a regular bow. Let's take a look at both and see which one we decide to do. Because that butterfly, takes up quite a bit of space, I think actually the bow may be just too much. So I think I'm just going to tuck that under. Now remember, I placed a glue dot in there, so I kind of have to go off to the side a bit. And I'm going to just do a little knot because I don't want to overpower it. I did a bow on the other one, and it was a little bit heavy, I thought, with the butterfly. So this one will be a little different. Okay, so we have that, and of course you can always add some embellishments, and I'm going to be using these ones, and I thought the blue, I don't know, kind of looked really nice on that. Place a couple of these on. There we go. We can actually, maybe easier with a pokey tool, we can look around where we want to place it. Okay, and there we go. So I have some embellishments on there. I thought that looks really nice. I think the blue on that looks really good. So I wanted to show you the difference. This one is stamped with white ink. I did this initially, but thought that the white ink just doesn't give it enough pop as the heat emboss on the white. I did the bow, which I think is a little overpowering on the butterfly, but you can do a bow if you want. So I went with this one here, and there are no gems on that. So I just wanted to show you the difference between the two.